Gator Nation. We are happy to have with us today Beth DeSimone, who's the Senior Director of Business Development for the Florida Fire Frogs and a proud TRSM alum. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start with your career path. Can you take us from your time in Gainesville to your current role, and then describe a little bit about what your current role is with the Fire Frogs?
Well, I graduated with a BS degree in sport management, of course, from the HHP. And I graduated in 2015, and right afterwards, I went and worked for spring training for the Houston Astros over at Osceola County Stadium. After that, I decided that I was going to coach baseball to kids with Cal Ripken in baseball, traveling all over the United States, visited a bunch of different cities and ballparks, which was awesome. Then afterwards, I received a position with the Daytona Tortugas, which is a high A affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds in the Florida State League. And I was just offered and moved over to the Florida Fire Frogs, where they're also in the Florida State League, but for the Braves.
So for our viewers that may not be familiar with the Florida Fire Frogs, can you give us a little bit of a history behind the Fire Frogs and their presence there in Kissimmee?
So like I said, they're the high A affiliate of the Braves, which is in Atlanta, so not too far away. They used to have their affiliate up in the north, past Atlanta, I want to say in North Carolina of some sort.
Okay.
And they're the only team that is not owned by the Braves. So everything else is their rookie league, their AA, AAA, Gwinnett Braves, Rome Braves, and I think Mississippi Braves. They're all the Braves. We're the only people that are the Fire Frogs, but our affiliate is still the Braves, which is pretty awesome.
Okay. So I know in minor league baseball you wear many hats, and I know in each of the roles that you've been a part of, in each of the organizations you've been a part of, you've worn many hats.
That's part of my elevator speech too, by the way.
So how would you describe a typical day for you in your current role?
A typical day, oh my goodness. In minor league baseball, there is no typical day, I'd say. But off season, so it's basically half and half. So for 6 months, you're preparing for the season. Then 6 months of crazy season. And then as soon as that season's over, you get prepared for the following year. There's a little downtime in between, and what's cool is, I will say during Christmas, they give us 2 weeks off. So, but a typical day, just regular right now during off season, is normally 8:30 to 5:30. You know, we're getting prepared, trying to get corporate sponsors, groups, getting the stadium ready, thinking of our promotions that we're going to do for the year, because there are these cool prizes that people win that I got to be a part of last year in Daytona as well. And then during season, it depends. If it's a game day, you're there from anywhere between, I'd say, 8 to noon, depending. Sometimes they stagger just because not everybody needs to be there, but somebody does need to be in the office at the time.
Sure.
And if people don't know, minor league baseball is very small. So there's only a total of, like, I'd say 8 to 12 people who are actually part of the admin. Everybody else is game day staff members. Sure. And so you're there from whichever time you come in until the game is over with. Then we pack up. We have to count money sometimes, depending on if the accountant's there or not. And then we get everything together. And afterwards, am I allowed to say that we sit down and have a beer?
Sure. Bet it out.
But sometimes, you know, we have to relax because we have 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10. Last year, I had an 11-game homestand. So we had 11 games in a row. And then we got to relax. And it was great. It was awesome. It was definitely challenging. It helps in many different areas, especially when you know that you're really, really tired. But guess what? You have to act like a 14-hour day was not a 14-hour day. And then in the end, you know that you made a bunch of people happy and love baseball and like coming there. So even though sometimes it's not the best situation and things are going crazy, or oh my gosh, a kid fell off the monkey bars and is bleeding or something like that. And of course, you think that there's going to be someone there that's going to help them. Well, guess what? Sometimes you're the only person that's there that's going to help them.
Sure, sure.
So you got to do it, call on the radio, and everybody kind of comes together. It's a big camaraderie, and anybody who I'd say has worked in a team sport, this is definitely where you want to be, in a sense.
So we call this series Industry Insights. And so as a professional in the industry, I'm always curious about some of the trends that you see impacting your segment of the sports industry. So what are some of the major trends that are impacting you all in minor league baseball?
So in minor league baseball, if anybody has been to a game, they know that it's not necessarily about winning or losing.
Sure.
It's about the experience and the time that you're going to have there. So we like to do a lot of in-game promotions, different things that draw people. Everybody's doing crazy, like different jerseys, theme nights. Everybody wants to do something different that's never been done before. They just had the promo seminar of the year, and yes, Daytona, the team I was with before that, we won overall promotion of the year, which was Bob Ross night.
Okay.
Bob Ross, for the youngins, is the painter that was on TV that used to draw little happy trees. And it was a big deal because Bob Ross is from Daytona, and he's actually bigger than Vince Carter. Vince Carter is from Daytona, but like there was a poll that said Bob Ross is bigger than Vince Carter, which is crazy to me. But it was amazing. We did a bobblehead for him. We had a painting class, and stay tuned because this year I'm doing a really big thing for Florida Fire Frogs that hopefully tops Bob Ross.
Okay, so you really addressed this idea of tying yourself to the local community, which I'm guessing is pretty important in minor league baseball. We hear a lot about how that live sporting event is impacted by technology. Do you see that technology infusing into minor league baseball? Do you see that impact in the live sporting event, or do you see it still as that real grassroots efforts connected to the community, the Bob Ross nights, that sort of thing?
I say it's a little bit of both, to be honest. So the thing about baseball or sports in general is you don't have one type of person that's going to come to your park or stadium or arena. You have the family of four.
Sure.
So a lot of teams are, like this year, we're going to have a monthly membership program for a single person, and then we're going to have one for a family of four, so that a family of four can afford to come to the game that may otherwise not be able to any other day, even though minor league baseball is pretty cheap to go to.
Sure.
But sometimes a family of four can afford those things with everything that's going on, hurricanes and school and buying school supplies and doing all those things. So we want to implement ourselves into the community at the same time as because we want them to be our support.
Sure.
I'm in Kissimmee, I'm not necessarily in Orlando, so I want the support of Kissimmee first and foremost because they're in our surrounding areas, and then everywhere else like Orlando and Windermere and Oviedo and all the other surrounding areas I want as well.
Sure.
But since, I didn't get to say this, last year was their first year, so the Fire Frogs, this is only their second year. So we're really new and want to be exciting, but sometimes people don't know about us. And the innovative, we do have a scoreboard, or a digital scoreboard and a digital video board. Back in Daytona, we just had the old school, it's not even a light up board. You have to physically take the big numbers and put them on there like how Fenway used to be.
Sure.
So that's how they're doing things, and everything's innovative and changing, but I still think that there's an old school feel about minor league baseball because I still believe it is the, greatest sport. But that's just me. It's America's sport.
So when we think about minor league baseball, and you touched on it quite a bit, you really think of that family demographic as that major target market. So I'm curious if there are other groups of people, other segments of the market that you think there's opportunity for growth, and you really see an opportunity to go after and expand that reach.
Yeah, as well as the family of four that's coming into the ballpark.
Sure.
We also have a lot of seniors that like to come as well. Last year we had this thing called Silver Sluggers.
Okay.
So we gave them a package of their own for anybody over the age of 60 years old. So they have they're not paying as much, but they're still being able to come. We have some day games. So of course the elderly like to come to the 10:30, 11 o'clock games rather than being there from 7 to 10, 11, sometimes 12 at night if we go into extra innings.
Sure.
Love extra innings, by the way. As a fan, I love them. Not so much as a worker, though.
Sure.
Especially if you're having that 11-game homestand. Sometimes it's a little much when you've been there all day. But.
So baseball in general, if we zoom out a little bit, people are concerned about the speed of the game and about the length of the game and about really attracting new fans. What do you think that either baseball or the baseball fan of the future looks like? Is it different than what it is today?
I still think that you're going to have your typical elderly man that comes with his wife, and she just sits there and is there for him, and then he's there charting and, yelling at everybody and that kind of thing, and it just loves baseball. Then there's the kids that we do running the bases every Sunday. Like I said, it's a lot about the promotions and being able to be family friendly and family affordable, and maybe the kids don't necessarily like baseball, but dad likes baseball, so dad wants to be there. We have different things like a daddy-daughter night, which is the girls get to dress like princesses, and then we have a mom and son night. And for Father's Day, well, we don't play minor league baseball in Florida State League. We don't play Mother's Day or Father's Day. I know in majors sometimes they do, but we'll do either the day before or the day after the week. We'll do like a father-son catch on the field. We do things more implemented for the everyday working American rather than just a specific type. So the future of a baseball fan, I think, is going to come more for the enjoyment of the atmosphere rather than it actually being baseball, because I have friends that say, well, 3 hours is way too long. Well, there's sometimes where I don't even realize 3 hours has gone by because I had a group of 200 come in, and I've been working with them from 5:30 to 7:30 to get their food and everything prepared and out in hospitality and doing everything for them. And then afterwards, a keg blew out over at this bar, and there's nobody to do it, so I'm going to grab that, or I'm going to help someone who fell down the stairs, and their nachos went everywhere. And yes, it may have been their fault, but guess what? I'm going to grab another nachos because they probably have it all over them, and maybe they're going to buy a T-shirt because of that, So it's all about getting someone to come back and want to have that fan involvement and enjoyment, and everybody does different songs. We do the 7th inning stretch kind of thing, and that's the typical baseball portion of it. But we have a couple of different really cool things that we're trying to get for the Florida Fire Frogs that no other team has ever done. And hopefully those things are implemented. I can't tell you the secrets right now, but maybe another time.
Okay. I have one more question related to your role, and then we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Second season. It's coming up the second season for the Fire Frogs in Kissimmee. I'm curious about challenges when you're coming into a new marketplace. And then also, I guess, as a part B, what are the major competitors, I guess, in that space, in that Kissimmee, St. Cloud area? What is preventing, or what would prevent someone from coming to a game?
So I laugh because right now we're in the middle of interview processes and bringing people in, and one of our questions is, so since we're in the most magical place in the world, because we're in Disney, we're right down the street from Disney, what character would you be and why?
Okay.
And it's funny, everybody says something different. Mickey, Donald Duck, Elsa, something more modern. And it gives us a great insight into where they're at the same time as we're trying to explain to them that it costs a lot of money to go to Disney, like a lot of money. So the people that are coming in to Disney, we want them just as much as we want the local person that has already gone to Disney probably 5 times this year because they live here. So it's hard because Disney is there, but I also think that the market hasn't really been tapped into, and people don't know how fun minor league baseball is. They're just, oh, it's baseball or something like that. But they don't realize that we put on a show, 70 home games. Well, another setback for us is the rain. They had 17 rainouts last year, so they only had 53 starts. And being able to have people still come back, even know that it might possibly rain, I've always tried to think of some type of rain promotion that if it does rain, let's do a slip and slide on the field or something. I don't know. But it's difficult at the same time as there's different innovative ways that they're coming up with. Like we may be getting turf. So if we have turf, we're never going to have a rain out. Unless it's like monsooning or it's September and another Hurricane Irma's coming. So different ways that we are challenged by that and rise above is having those promotions that are bringing people to the ballpark, whether it's rain or shine. Trust me, I wish that I could implement, how we do here in Gator Nation, rain or shine, we're still there all together. And because it's so new, people aren't really grasping that fact, yet. Before we didn't have a minor league baseball team there. There was just spring training for the Houston Astros. So nobody has a hometown team. So I would love for it to be kind of like in Orlando City Soccer. They're purple, but everybody fell in love with them. Not at first. Everybody was kind of taken back. They weren't sure about soccer. Some people didn't really like soccer, even though soccer's huge now all across America. And they adapted and they were excited and they pretty much painted the town purple. So now I want to paint the town red, orange, and yellow over in Kissimmee, not necessarily Orlando, and for that to be a hometown team and for people to support it. And that's going to be our angle as the community and how we overcome all of the challenging difficulties of Disney being there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought of the tourist as a potential market, but that's interesting to think about. But really still focusing on that grassroots and building that community presence, focusing on the families. I love that. So if we shift gears, I just have a couple questions really related to our young alums, our students that are looking to prepare themselves for careers in minor league baseball. I know you've had a variety of experiences. I was curious if you have specific experience students can go after now while they're in school that may prepare them for maybe a chance to follow in your footsteps.
Of course. So I don't want to sound like a mother, but the more things that you can do prior to graduating and prior to getting your internship and prior to doing field experience that you're going to have to do, volunteer, get with UAA, get with a local softball complex, baseball complex, maybe even, I can't remember, I don't know if it's Central Florida or whatnot, but some of the commissions or even some of the Chamber of Commerce says, yes, you may be a young professional, but you're in college, they want you to do that. And networking is ginormous in the sports life, whether it's minor league baseball or not. Because minor league baseball, it's a lot about who you know, if you have a degree, and if you have experiences in those things. So like for here, sometimes if someone wants to work in the Gator ticket office and they're going to go for a box office internship or box office management position, the first line, no matter what it should be, is box office intern or box office student or anything like that, because our eyes are going to draw to it. Anything that can set you apart from someone. I know I was speaking with you about this a different time, but I'm actually taking classes so that I can become bilingual, because it's huge in minor league baseball, and it's going to be huge in different sports, even soccer, football, a couple of different things. It's going to set you aside from anybody else, and someone who has that capability is very useful for something that they may not have. We like diversity, and we like to be able to accompany anybody that walks up to the ticket box office window. And it's pretty cool that when one of our players' wives, she came up and had asked for French fries, but she said it in Spanish, and none of my workers were able to speak Spanish, so they had no idea that fritas was fries, and they didn't know what she was asking for. So I walked over, they said, Beth, can you please help me? I don't want to offend her. And she asked me, and she said, Papa's fritas. And I was like, oh, French fries. She just wants French fries, guys. And it was funny to me, but they didn't understand how like simple and fun it was. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, I don't know, you got to set yourself aside from everybody else.
Sure.
And doing that is starting early on, like freshman, sophomore. I wish when I was here, I didn't get until my senior year into the UAA. I wish I would have done it when I first got here. And I can't stress enough how much experience goes a lot longer than just having a degree or even having a master's. Me personally, I'm going to choose the person that has experience over someone who has the master's in minor league baseball. Things might be different in like the more upscale management, like serious roles in a sense, but if you want to start from the bottom up and maybe have your experience working and you could also do your master's on the side, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, sure. All right, last question, and you mentioned this early on in your answer there. You said the word networking, and so that's one of those words that everybody sort of says, yeah, I know I need a network, but very few students have the understanding of how to actually put that into place. How do I actually network? And so curious if you had thoughts or ideas or tips for our students and young alums about how to actually begin that process of networking or relationship building.
Besides, don't just say you're going to do it and actually do it.
Yes, besides just saying it.
So when I was here, I had no idea necessarily what it was going to be like, but because of the fact that I had worked in the service industry before and networking helped me in that sense. So I was a bartender, server, manager before, and then when someone had a wedding, someone said, oh my God, I know this awesome bartender. She's going to be great for you. She's going to do what she needs to, and she's going to make all your guests happy. Then I would get a call and someone would be like, hey, Beth, are you available to bartend? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you. Then that person, they have their 100 or so guests that are there. Someone else may be getting married, and then it kind of went down the line. And so I knew how networking kind of worked in a sense, but in the sports industry, it's all about putting yourself out there. If I could give one suggestion about networking, it would be to go online, see the conventions that are happening. Every year, baseball has winter meetings. This year, it's in Florida.
Yes, it is.
It's in Orlando.
Yes, it is.
They do a lot of interviews for internships, for positions, especially sales positions are like a huge, everybody's always looking for a good salesperson because they're trying to grow their market. They're trying to get, butts in seats. They're trying to get people in the door. It's just the way sometimes they're a little more business oriented, especially AA, AAA, and major leagues. So networking to start would be to go on the internet, see what's out there, see what needs to be done, and then maybe even, I know we discussed LinkedIn. If you're looking for a position or an internship, make sure you do your research, make sure you're doing everything possible, and then reach out. And then if that person doesn't get back to you, reach out to someone else. And if that person doesn't get back to you, reach out to somebody else. The more no's you get, somewhere down the line, there's going to be a yes. And that person is going to give you a break, because I had my break. I didn't think it was going to happen for me. I wasn't sure. Actually, Dr. DeMichael and I were just speaking about this in class. And he said, I remember you were sitting at my desk, I had personal issues with like finances and what I was going to do with my life and where I was going and how I was going to get an internship. And it was November and I was like freaking out because January was about to be here. And I caught a break. And then afterwards, whenever I graduated, then I caught another break. And it was all about who you know and making those relationships and putting yourself out there. I know some people are reserved and I totally get that. But that doesn't mean that you're not a genuine person. Just because you're not as audacious or crazy or like wanting to speak your mind or meet a person that you've never met before in your entire life. Or what happens if you're in an elevator and Derek Jeter steps in the door and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Those kind of things. That's what happens to me when someone from minor league baseball that's huge in the market and is a huge executive walks into an elevator or walks into the room or I'm introduced to them. So I would say make sure you put yourself out there, even if it makes you uncomfortable. You're going to have to do that if you want to work in sports.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you want to sit behind a computer and, you know, do videography and stuff like that, I would say if you're going to want to work in sales, marketing, operations, if you want to be a GM one day like myself, you're going to have to go and get it. It's not going to just come to you. As much as people have come to me and helped me, you also have to help yourself, because if you're not willing to do it yourself, someone else isn't going to be like, oh my gosh, she's a go-getter. I want to help her. There's a lot in minor league baseball. Everybody knows someone has a story. Everybody has a background. Everybody's been through things. Everybody has struggles and trials and tribulations, and there's going to be someone there that wants to help you. And you just got to find that person. It's almost like a needle in a haystack sometimes, but as soon as you find that one, it opens up a whole new world, especially in the sports industry. Like, another example, you know, we're looking for someone right now for a corporate sponsorship. I reached out to a friend of mine that is the marketing manager for Orlando Magic. And then the top sales manager for the Rays, and then a couple people in different Florida State League.
Sure.
I asked them if they have any account executives that are looking for more of a management role that want to get experience to further their career.
Sure.
We do that, even though we post it online, the first person we're going to talk to is someone that we know and trust.
Sure.
Because when you build that trust, you are able to build a relationship, and they may know somebody and how they are and if they're going to fit in the dynamic of your office space.
Well said. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Welcome.
It was great to see you. Go Gators.
Yes, go Gators.